Hey guys, it's Steve for CollectorMania, continuing on our Commander Collection series. Today we're going to look at a brand new commander out of the C17 product. This guy is available in the Dragons deck. He is Taigam Ojutai Master, so another great addition to the Azorius roster here. So he's 2 colors, 1 white, 1 blue. Legendary Human Monk, 3/4. The real meat of this card, though, is the abilities here. We've got, first up, instant, sorcery, and dragon spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities. So already we're off to a great start here. I mean, if you think about it, that basically means you're free to cast any spell you want to for the rest of the game as long as this guy's on the board, okay? But it really gets wacky here. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, if Taigam Ojutai Master attack this turn, that spell gains rebound. Now that's pretty crazy in my opinion. This guy is a powerhouse just because of those few lines of text right there. So anyway, that's enough said about him. Let's go ahead and break into the deck here. So coming up on our creatures here, we've got first up Azorius Guildmage. This is by far one of my favorite control piece cards. It really does everything you want it to do. It's a 2 hybrid cost creature, 2/2. Has 2 activated abilities on it. First one is pay 2 colors and a white, tap target creature. So very defensive, can be offensive if you need to get like Taigam through to deal some combat damage to people, and they have a huge blocker. The second ability is 2 colors and a blue, counter target activated ability. So once again, really powerful. Can shut down a whole heck of a lot of stuff that you want to get around some of those rune abilities, stuff like that. Next up, we've got a Brawl. He is mainly in here for the instant and sorcery side of the deck. Really, that plays a lot into this commander just because you have some wacky spells that cost like 8, 7. You want those to be brought down a little bit so it's a little bit more achievable for you to cast. And past Brawl, we've got a Nimble Obstructionist. This is another great new addition from Hour of Devastation as far as control builds go. Really good for countering activated abilities again. As you can see, the deck has a theme of just stopping your opponents from doing a lot of things all the time. So we'll kind of see a lot more of that as we break in more here. Then we've got Thassa, God of the Sea. This is mainly in here for the ability to give Taigam unblockable. With his ability, you want to be able to trigger that, of course, so you want him to be able to attack and survive. So just being able to pay the 2 mana, give him unblockable, and swing at whoever you want. I mean, it's definitely possible that you might be able to finish somebody off with commander damage with this guy if you give him some kind of buff or anything like that. That's not necessarily what we're trying to do in this build, but I could definitely see it happen. So, plus the Scry 1 and the Indestructible 5/5, that's not bad at all either. Then we've got Archaeomancer. As we've already talked about, there are a ton of instants and sorceries in the deck, so we really want to be able to return some of those. There could be definitely a possibility of adding in some of those blink kind of effects in here, which I could definitely see. Like your area interludes and stuff like that, I could see rebounding one of those spells and like just putting everybody back into play could be pretty beneficial for you as well. And then we've got another control card. This is a great commander on his own, and that's Grand Arbiter Augustine. This card is absolutely ridiculous for all the things that we just talked about. Not only does he make your instants and sorcery spells cost less because it makes all blue and white spells cost less, but it is a counter to your opponent's ability to pay less mana for their stuff. So now all their spells cost 1 more. So really good control card. And then we've got a Stunt Double, and I cannot talk about this card enough. It is a flash clone. You really want to play this guy. Say somebody has an Avacyn out and they go to wipe the board thinking they're going to get rid of everything, and you just flash this guy and copy their Avacyn, and all of a sudden your stuff is indestructible too. So really fun. And then we've got Dragonlord Ojutai. This is, I guess, the mentor to Taigam, so I just had to include him in the deck. Plus it's once again just another really good control card. It really helps you set up, a 5/4 hexproof creature is a really good chump block, well, not chump blocker, a really good blocker, and it also has the clause of whenever Dragonlord Ojutai deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So I mean, that's a good way to dig through your deck, find the spells that you want to rebound with Taigam. Then we've got Isperia. This is another good like Pillow Fort kind of creature. It just makes it so your opponents don't necessarily want to swing into you, because then when they do swing into you, you get to draw a whole bunch of cards, plus a 6/4 flyer, pretty good threat. And then Madome the Ageless. A kind of sub-theme in the deck could be taking extra turns just because of Taigam's ability, and we'll kind of get into that in the sorceries as well. but adding a creature in there that also does that, pretty powerful, I'd say. Breaking into our first artifact here, we've got Swiftfoot Boots. With a commander like this, of course, people are going to want to get him off the table as soon as they can because they see his ability. So just being able to add that little layer of protection. I kind of opted out of the Lightning Greaves just because sometimes you do want to be able to target your commander with your spells. Like I said earlier, like Area Interlude, stuff like that can really make a difference. Like if you say somebody does a board wipe and you want to bounce this guy back, you couldn't bounce him back if the Lightning Greaves are on him, but with Swiftfoot Boots, you don't care. So there's that. And then the other artifact that I wanted to feature here is Thought Vessel. One of the big things with this deck is that you're going to be drawing a ton of cards. So having that extra little card that says you have an unlimited hand size along with Reliquary Tower is really important in my opinion. And I think Thought Vessel being also a mana rock, it's just all upside there. So really there's no problem at all. Now we only really have one enchantment spell that I want to talk about. There are a few in the deck, but I think we've hit on them before. So, and I know we've talked about Blind Obedience, but with this deck, I think it's crucial just to have all those potential blockers come into play tapped and then be able to swing through with Taigam is really important, of course. The Extort definitely does help, you know, gain a little bit of life here, gain a little bit of life there, but really Blind Obedience can't be beat as far as controlling the board for combos like Kiki Jiki, anything like that. This just shuts down. So another really good just control piece that I basically include in any deck that can fit it in. Now we're getting into the meat of the deck, and those are the instants and sorceries. So first up, obviously, are the instant speed spells. We've got a few that seem kind of, you know, underpowered or whatever, but think about you're doing this as rebound. So first up, we've got Azorius Charm. If you think about this, on your turn, when you cast this, if you're going for the whole rebound effect, you could just simply say, draw a card, or give Taigam lifelink, or whatever. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you just rebound it and then draw a card. So it's like a free, like, Phyrexian Arena effect, or Staff of Nin, or whatever you want to look at it like that. It just goes right to your graveyard for you to grab back and use again later. So it's a very small spell that you can just not think about and cast after you attack with Taigam. And then we've got a really good removal piece, and that's Reality Shift. So if you think about this now, say you Reality Shift something, exile it, and then you see their face light up and you think they have another creature under there. Now you can just Reality Shift that. I mean, if you want to go in that, you know, whole rebound loop. Or you can hit other targets. There's really no downside to this. I know Swords to Plowshares and stuff like that might be a little bit better, and I think they're in the deck, but I just love Reality Shift. I mean, it's a blue exile spell. Can't really get better than that. Then we've got an Unsubstantiate. Now, I picked I guess a group of counter spells that have more modes than one, and that was kind of what I was looking for. Modal spells, as I've talked about before, are amazing, but in here they really make sense because the effect that you do on cast may not be the same exact effect that you want on rebound. Really here, you're probably going to be doing more of the bounce if you're looking for that rebound effect, because you're going to bounce something, you know, on after you attack. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, you're going to bounce another thing. So that's mainly what you're looking for here. But in a pinch, you can use this to counter things like Supreme Verdict or anything like that that can't even be countered. So there's that. Another good example of that is Supreme Will. For example, you cast this card on a counter at the end of your turn. Say somebody tries to remove your Taigam after you attack, which doesn't make any sense, but hey, anything's possible. Then the next turn at your upkeep, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library and pick one. I mean, really good rebound target, really good modal spell. And then we've got a new card, and that's Teferi's Protection. I think we've talked about this card before, and I'll keep talking about it until, I don't know, my face is blue. This card is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that you phase everything out is just insane. Your life total can't change, so there are a ton of infinite combos that stops in their tracks. I mean, yeah, you got to contend with it when it gets back to their turn, but hopefully you have answers in your hand to deal with it when it gets to your turn. So stuff like that. I don't really see this one being a big rebound target because I don't know if I want to take, you know, a turn off at the beginning of my upkeep. That seems kind of weird, but there's definitely instances where that could be helpful. So it's in the realm of possibilities there. Then we've got a super Mac Daddy modal counterspell, and that's Cryptic Command. Because if you think about it, this thing will do everything for you. Say, for example, you know, you want to bounce back one of your permanents to your hand, then draw a card, and then when it comes back around, you want to draw a card and then tap all of your creatures are your opponent's creatures to get through with Taigam again. I mean, yeah, that's really good free at the beginning of your upkeep. So yeah, Cryptic Command. It's great. Then we've got Ojutai's Command, another one of those really good modal counter spells. So with this one, mainly what I'm looking to probably do is gain 4 life and draw a card, but either of the other 2 modes can be used. Like, say somebody gets rid of your Azorius Guildmage, then you can use the first ability. You know, awesome card. Love it. Plus it's got Ojutai on it. Then we've got another Mac Daddy modal counterspell, and that's Mystic Confluence. This is probably my most favorite spell to rebound, because I mean, if you think about it, you could return 3 permanents to somebody's hand on the first cast of it, and then draw 3 cards on the second cast of it, and that's really good at the beginning of your upkeep. That's like a Ancestral Visions, like for no reason. So really, really cool. And then Dig Through Time. Casting this spell for free would be absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I'm looking forward to rebounding this as well, especially since you'll do the delve part first, and then it won't matter when it comes back because you'll just be casting it off the rebound. So there you go. So breaking into the second half of our cast spells here, we've got Call to Mind. Now this spell in this deck is absolutely ridiculous. If you think about it, you're grabbing back a instant or sorcery on the first cast, and then the rebound you're grabbing back another instant or sorcery. So I mean, really the sky's the limit there. You grab back your Cryptic Command on the first cast, then your Ojutai's Command on the second cast, like Cyclonic Rift, whatever. Then you add something like Archaeomancer into the mix, and now you're doing this essentially 5 times. So that over the course of like 2, 3 turns, 4 turns, I guess at that point, is really, really good and really powerful, because you can essentially set up yourself to control those next couple of turns with your Cryptic Commands, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a must. And then we've got a Plea for Power. This card is absolutely crazy in here. If you think about it, if you're really good at politics, you can usually get somebody to give you an extra turn with this. As long as you and 2 other people, you know, side for extra turn, there you go. Say for somebody you're playing, or for example, you're playing Arch Enemy with somebody and you get to, I don't know, go crazy with this. So there's that. Plus rebounding is just absolutely insane. And then we've got Baral's Expertise. Really good card for bouncing back potential blockers, potential threats next turn, anything like that. But if you think about it with rebound, it gets even better, because now not only are you casting, you know, your spell at the beginning of your upkeep, but you're also going to be able to cast like an instant speed spell for 4 or less. Yeah, there's nothing but upside there. Cast one of your Cryptic Commands or something like that. And then we've got one of the win cons, in my opinion, and that's a Clone Legion. Because if you think about it, you cast the Clone Legion the first time after you attack with Taigam. You get all the creatures. So even if, you know, for example, something crazy happens and somebody wipes your board or something like that, it comes back and then gets cast again, and then all of a sudden you can have a huge army of creatures again, depending on what the board state looks like. Obviously, it won't work with like regular Wraths because there'll be nothing to clone. But you never know. Really fun card, though. And then we've got the definite win condition in here, and that's taking extra turns. I only put 1 in here so far. I'm sure that as I play this deck more and more, there'll be more and more, and it'll get more and more degenerate. Me and Eric were talking about this the other day, and I'm still trying to figure out if I take 3 extra turns or 4 extra turns, but it doesn't really matter because 3 extra turns is enough in my opinion, so time stretch. This with rebound is absolutely ridiculous. Any of the take extra turn cards are absolutely ridiculous, so include as many as you desire. Like I said, I kind of try and keep myself a little bit tame. That way I'm not just, you know, making all my opponents roll their eyes back to their skulls. So yeah, time stretch. Really cool card, really expensive. I think it's fair. And the last little piece here are the lands, of course. We've got, first up, a Celestial Colonnade. Really good man land, probably the best man land, I would say at least. I mean, if you think about it, you activate it, you swing with it. It has vigilance, so it stays untapped. You can use it to counter spells, cast removal, doesn't matter. You can do a whole bunch of stuff with this card, and it's absolutely busted. There's a reason it's got the price tag that it has, you know, being a 4/4 flyer. So yeah, there's that. A card that I really wanted to talk about, though, is Core Haven. This is probably one of the best Maze of Ith effects that isn't Maze of Ith, if that makes any sense. Not only does it have the upside of being able to tap for mana, which Maze of Ith doesn't do, but its activation cost is relatively low, even though it does have to have white to activate it. So there's the downside there. So, but if you compare it to like Mystifying Maze, which costs 4 to do the same thing, I mean, this is leagues leagues better than that one. Probably one of my favorite cards. Probably will always be one of my favorite cards. I really need to get an invocation version the more I think about it, because it actually looks pretty good. So there's that. And then lastly, we've got a Nimbus Maze. This is a card that I really hope someday they do the full cycle on, because I really think it's an interesting, I guess, alternative to like Buddy Lands or anything like that. They're definitely not the same as Shocks or anything like that, but they're kind of a middle ground, and they're nice. They're nice to have. With that is the whole deck, and of course, as always, you can check out the tapped out list in the description, and we will look forward to seeing you on the next deck tech. I think I'm gonna, maybe try and do a few more of the new commanders. That way we can start adding those to the commander collection. But thank you guys, and we will see you next time.